Opie's latest opus.
What
are you doing?
I'm sorry. I was trying to do some kind of presidential march, but that was the Olympics, wasn't it?
Yeah, I thought that's what you were going to do.
I thought this was Rankin Bass. Jack Frost and Nixon?
You know what? You laughing, but every time I hear Frost Nixon, but the first thing I think is Jack Frost.
Yeah, you thinking of Nixon doing an interview with a snowman, and he would lose to the snowman.
Yeah.
No, man, this movie is, I'll just go ahead and just say it, this is my favorite movie that I've seen so far this year. I love this movie.
This is the best movie of the year. I love this movie to death. I've seen it twice already. I don't know how many more times I'm going to watch it, but there's going to be several more viewings because this movie is just so good. Everything about it works. Every performance is incredible, and it just grips you from the very beginning. And it's a movie about an interview.
Yeah, that is a deal. But see, the reason why it works is because that interview is done like a Rocky movie. This is
a boxing match.
It is a boxing match of wit and ego.
I love that when I was rewatching it, there's actually, because the whole film echoes a boxing match. And there's a point where Nixon is on the ropes and he's kind of falling back and they show his point of view and they show it getting like out of focus and stuff as he's looking at stuff. I was like, oh my God, that's so totally a boxing movie.
Not only that, but there's several scenes where they cut back and forth where they go to their separate corners.
Oh, yeah.
Effectively. And they've got their ring crews there that are talking through. They're like, okay, now what you need to do, you need to lean forward in your seat. Make sure you engage him. Do not let him get out. And you're hanging on their every freaking word. And it's so good.
Well, it's funny because that means that Kevin Bacon is basically Burgess Meredith in this movie. Come on, Nixon. You can get back out there. You can hit him. Nixon. You gotta stick and move.
Get up, Nixon. No,
you can do it. You are a crook.
Adrian.
No, you gotta be funny. Nixon got to know. Adrian. I'm not a crook. But no. So and that was intentional.
Corey, for all the 15-year-olds on our site, explain what Frost Nixon is.
Yes, it is 1977, and we have the movie opens up with David Frost. Now, David Frost at the time was a British TV show host, a talk show host.
Yeah, not even a terribly successful one.
No, he had like 3 shows. He's floating around. He did one show.
He was the Carson Daly of the 70s.
Yeah, I mean, he in fact, he was not that good to the point where they said, you're British, but go do your shit in Australia.
Right. So, where we dropped all our criminals off.
Yeah, exactly. So
the Botany Bay.
Now he wants to score an interview. He wants to do something big because the guy wants to be taken seriously at some point. So he decides to get an interview with Richard Nixon 3 years after Watergate. Now, Nixon is saying at the same time, he's doing all kind of public speaking gigs with people who don't give a shit what he has to say. So he looks at this guy, David Frost, and says, you know what? That guy is a puffball. Right. I can come out and make my public image so much better because Nixon was a bully. And he's like, if there's anybody can bully, it's this British faggot over here. So,
normally I would take exception to what you just said.
But that's Nixon. That's not me.
That's dead on.
When he is, in fact, a bundle of sticks. So it's okay.
Are you... Wait, when did Leon become a British faggot?
What?
Not Leon.
Not Leon. I'm talking about David Frost.
Yeah, David Frost.
So
pay attention, Carlisle.
And Kevin Bacon plays his advisor, and they're both thinking, oh, yeah, we got this guy. Let's take the interview. Now, when the interview finally comes up, what Richard Nixon doesn't realize is that this guy, David Frost, this is an interview that was funded not only from TV stations, but from friends and from his own money. So he has a lot at stake here.
Yeah.
And so he's like saying, when I go into this, I'm going into this to win because if I lose, I'll lose respect and I'll lose money and I'll lose friends. I'll lose my table at a fancy restaurant.
Yeah, I lose everything.
What's funny was how he came into it not thinking that way. For him, he's just like, oh, yes, sure, it is going to be a puff piece. It's entertainment, and I'm interviewing the ex-president, and what's the big deal? So people on his staff are like, hey, look, man, you better not fucking lose this.
Yeah,
we got a lot on the line here for you.
He brings in Sam Rockwell, who's an American journalist who wants nothing more in his life than to bring Nixon down to one way or the other.
Yeah.
The ultimate goal, a public admittance that Nixon, in fact, knew what he was doing and lied on purpose and committed a crime.
Yeah.
And that's really what the movie is about. That's the championship.
Yeah, no, and then Nixon is coming into it with his own agenda saying, at this point, this is my last chance to convince America that I am a good guy, even though he's an asshole.
He sort of had that mentality of O.J. Simpson. It's like, look, dude, you committed a really big crime, and you've been pardoned in a sense. In a sense, you've gotten away with it, but the public hates you. Now, the thing to do is just lay low. Don't even worry about being anybody's public favor, but these guys, they get in the spotlight. They got to get back in there.
And it really is, you're rooting for them to bring Nixon down, but it really isn't even about that with these guys. It really is their egos that are going to match here.
Yeah, when it comes down to it.
And you can see both people's sides. I mean, when you really pay attention to Nixon, what he did, I mean, okay, yeah, he did commit a crime that, yeah, he deserved to be impeached for and deserved all the shit he's gotten. On the other hand, he did, in fact, do some amazing things during his presidency. Like, he opened the first president to open trade relations with China, right? Really incredible. Still respected for that to this day. But that's his whole point. He's like, I don't understand why all they can talk about is Watergate. I did all this amazing stuff. It's like, it doesn't matter what you did the whole time. If at the end of it, you fucked the dude, people are still going to say, hey, that's that guy fucker.
Yeah, it's like, hey, I won the Heisman Trophy. I had more yards rushing than any other running back.
Exactly.
Yeah, I killed a couple people, but come on. What's more important here?
I mean, let's look at it this way. Yes, Nixon did some good things, but he got a lot of people killed in Vietnam. Yeah. OJ, he's a Heisman Trophy winner, but he cut off somebody's head. Two people, as a matter of fact. So,
that's what you're going to remember.
We will remember that. So, I mean, look, I really, why I love this movie so much is because Ron Howard is a better director than we give him credit for.
Yes,
now, Ron Howard will go in and he will direct schlocky stuff. He will take biopics and then he will change it around and make it his own thing. And you have to go into this movie realizing that this is not a goddamn history lesson. It is a movie based on a play, and you just go in to watch the performances in the interview.
Well, I wouldn't agree with you that Ron Howard's a better director than we give him credit for. I think that Ron Howard gets a raw deal because he's so overrated that guys like us tend to tear him apart at times. But this really is the best film he's ever directed.
No question.
There are some people who are going to argue that, no, this is my favorite or this is my favorite. But this is the best film. It's definitely the best film he's done in the last 10 years. It is just a really incredibly emotional film that comes out of nowhere. It just grabs you, and you have no idea that this banal of subject matter can be made so fascinating.
For a movie where there's no action, you're on the edge of your seat the whole time. You know, it's so much tension and drama in there, and it's like 2 hours that flies by so fast. Like when it's done, you're kind of like, I want more. And let us not skip over the fact that this has such allegory to our own President Bush.
Exactly.
That's what I was going to say is like this film is so perfectly timed as you're watching it. You know, let's face it, we're never going to get an apology from Bush.
No.
That's never going to happen.
He
is
never
never going to come
like
out
this.
and say, oh yeah, okay, I totally fucked up and I knew I was fucking up and I didn't care, I did it anyway. This is as close as we're going to get to that.
Well,
and it feels like it as you're watching it.
Wait until my interview with President Bush. Hey, I'm gonna be David Frost, and I'm gonna interview President Bush.
He's an animated character. How hard can this be? I love cartoons.
If it's anything like your Neil Patrick Harris interview, though, it's
it'll be even better. You know what it'll end up with him and I smoking a doobie, giggling at each other. It'll be Harold and Kumar Part 3.
Now Ron Howard's deliberate agenda behind this did in fact deal with Bush. He's gone around on the circuit and he's talking about the fact that this is exactly why he made this. This film is exactly about how he feels now and how much of America feels now and how we're not going to get that vindication.
I didn't think there was a moment of doubt about that. It's blindingly obvious when you watch it.
I'd like to give Richard Nixon the trial he never had.
Of course, we'll be asking difficult questions.
Difficult questions. The man lost 21,000 Americans and 1 million Indo-Chinese during his administration. He only escaped jail because of Ford's pardon.
Yes, but equally going after him in some knee-jerk way. You know, assuming he's a terrible guy. Wouldn't that only create more sympathy for him than anything else?
Right now, I submit it's impossible to feel anything close to sympathy for Richard Nixon. He devalued the presidency, and he left the country that elected him in trauma.